Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Today I want to run through some things that you should be thinking about focusing on stocking up and doing, because as we've said on here many times, it's all starting to crumble. Between the economy, the dollar, the banking system, the whole financial system, it's like it's teetering, right? We know that. We've seen some of the biggest banks ever to fail, and they say that there's more yet to come. And then of course, war, rumors of war, and an invasion. We're dealing with an invasion, folks. We're dealing with people coming across that, a portion of them at least, are intent upon doing crimes. And many of them, that while they may not be intent upon committing crimes, they're forced to out of necessity because they come here with nothing. So the crime rates, the problems that this country has faced is going to be exacerbated. And so we need to be getting prepared for that. We're going to go through some stages here. Right at this moment, we're talking about defensive tools to protect what you have, protect your family, and then we'll move on to other things, food, medical, just general tools, how to be sustainable and survive, because we need to be focusing on this and doing it really quickly. I have here a small variety of some things that you should be considering. None of this is specific, none of this is set in stone. These are just examples, visual aids to kind of spur you along and to help you come up with some ideas of what works for you. As I've said many times on my channel, I am not a brand guy. I don't care about the brand. I care about that it functions, that it works, and that it works for you. As many people that may disagree with me, a high point in your hand is worth more than a Glock on layaway, and only you gun people are going to get that. But quickly get a Glock or something. Starting off, everyone should have some form of battle rifle. The reason for it is that it is much more capable of defending your home and your property than a handgun. Forget everything that you've seen in movies. If you've never shot a weapon before, or you've never used a weapon to kill something or someone, forget everything that you've learned on TV, because according to the TV shows and movies, that a 9mm pistol can blow someone's lung out. And I can tell you for certain that it can't. And no matter what caliber you use of a handgun, a rifle will always be better. It will always be better at taking out a target, and it will always be better at accuracy. So you should get something. This here is your common AR-15 5.56 rifle. It doesn't have to be this. It can be a Ruger Mini 14. It can be an AK-47 or some variant in 7.62. It can be something in a more modern 6.5 Creedmoor. Whatever you want that works for you and that works within your budget is fine. An old NATO 308 is fine. But make sure you have something that you practice with it and that you use it. Other options if you're on a really tight budget. This here is something that I promote all the time because I bought it because it was cheap and I ended up really liking it. This is an H&R Partner pump. It is a pretty much exact copy replica of a Remington 870. You can find these brand new for roughly around $200. It's 12 gauge, it's a pump shotgun. It's nothing fancy, but it's functional and it's cheap. And a 12 gauge will work with just about any type of game or threat. There's so many different variable types of cartridges of shells that you can use in a 12 gauge, and you can add lights and all kinds of other things to it easily with this one because it's a Remington 870. Now if you can get a Remington or a Mossberg or a Benelli or anything like that because you have the money, it's fine. But I always bring this one out because there's always those folks that say, I'm on a really tight budget and I can't afford a $500, $600, $700, $800, $1,000 gun. Well, here's something that you can pick up for anywhere between $180 and $220. And while it may not be as good as other things, I assure you it will get the job done if you practice with it, you know how to use it, and you don't have to be extremely accurate. So that's an option. Also, options are your granddaddy's old deer rifle. This is just an old Winchester 30-30. Many of you have shot something like this. Lots and lots of deer. It's estimated that there's probably been more deer taken with a 30-30, or maybe even more game animals total in the world with a Winchester 3030 than anything else. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know it's been around a long time, and while it has its limitations when compared to a modern battle rifle, it certainly has the ability to get the job done. As a repeating rifle, it also doesn't draw any kind of attention because, well, everyone's used to seeing something like this. Probably the biggest drawback, in my opinion, is the cost of ammunition is substantially more than like a 5.56 or even a 7.62. But hey, if it's what you got, you use it, folks. And then, of course, pistols. Pistols is something that you're going to carry on you. I mean, most people aren't going to walk around with a shotgun or battle rifle, but a pistol is something that you should have on you at all times. And honestly, it doesn't matter to me what kind that you get, what brand that you get. You need to practice with it, you need to become familiar with it, and you need to carry it on you. So pick one and get one. Ammunition, you need a lot of it. You need more than you think. You should have, look at ammunition in two different ways: training and then self-defense. So the training is what you're going to use on a regular basis to make sure you become and stay proficient. And depending on your level, that could be anywhere from 100 or 200 rounds a month up to 500 to 1,000 rounds a month. And then you want to make sure that you have a supply of ammunition set back just in case it all hits the fan and you're not able to go to stores to resupply. And this is not including producing your own through reloading. And that's a good thing to do also. You know, on a battle rifle and a pistol, I think having 5,000 rounds apiece is nothing, and not an extreme amount. That to me is kind of a minimum. I keep my magazines loaded. Whoops. Some people don't, some people do. Yes, you can potentially have a spring failure, meaning that if it's packed in there, it could cause the spring to fail, but it's actually quite rare. And I'd rather take my chances of having them loaded, because when a fight comes, I don't want to have to sit there, you know, loading magazines so that I can go to the fight. I want to have them. So I keep all my magazines loaded. And speaking of magazines, ammunition, weapons, you want to have ways to carry and use that makes things better. This is a simple war belt, battle belt, pistol, knife, you know, small blowout kit, magazines. This is something that can very easily be strapped on to go out bump in the night kind of kit. The reason why this stuff, I think, is becoming more necessary, not just because it's cool or because, you know, it does provide some assistance, is the enemies are using this stuff. And so when they're using it and it's giving them an advantage, we should also use it. I do mine a little different than a lot of people. I have a plate carrier, and then I have a chest rig that you see me carry all the time. So I'm typically running a stripped down plate carrier. And then when I wear this, I slip my chest rig over it, and it's set up to easily do that. Now the reason behind my reasoning is as a homesteader, property owner, I am not going off to war all the time. Okay? If I knew I was going into battle, of course I'm going to put that plate carrier on. But it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it slows you down. No matter how well you train with it and how much you use it, it is a hindrance as much as it is a protection. But on my property, especially when times get tough, I want to be at least able to defend my home as best as possible without slowing me down. You know, as much as you convince yourself, if you only have a plate carrier, there are going to be days that you're just not going to wear it. You're not going to wear it because it's just, you don't feel like it. You're tired, you're worn out, you don't want to put it on. Even in the military, where they're required in combat to wear them, there's always stories of guys trying to figure out a way to not carry it, putting cardboard in or plywood or something like that. It's going to be even worse on your homestead. So on a day-to-day basis, I would carry something like this. This has my mags, this has my, you know, IFAK here. It's got, well, the IFAK I think's down here, and then I've got some just basics, first aid or whatever. It has a knife on it, flashlight, things like that I would need, and I can even attach tools to it. As I'm working around, I can attach a pouch to it that just has my tools in it as I may be repairing a fence or things like that. If it looks like that war is really coming, then I would go in and slip this on, and so that's my reasoning behind it. Ammunition, going back to that, I forgot to mention, I like to keep a good amount of ammunition loose in these kind of containers, ready to go, so that if a war did happen, you've got your mags loaded, and then you can grab one of these and take with you instead of having to, you know, pull individual boxes out, dump them out. They're already dumped out. It's much easier to load. So this is a good basic setup for defending the things that you have worked so hard to take care of, especially your family, because we have an obligation to do that. So here we have the things that you're going to survive off of. This is what keeps you alive: your food, your water, your medical supplies, and your medicines. Everyone needs to have this kind of stuff because, well, you have to stay alive. You have to eat, you have to drink, and you have to have medical needs taken care of or you'll die. And it's not as difficult as what a lot of people might think, especially when it comes to food. I would recommend 12 to 24 months minimum. Remember that a lot of your supplies are just kind of that transitionary period. Your goal is to become self-sufficient to where you're producing most of the things that you need. But you have these kind of things in place to kind of transition you to that point. So things like shelf-stable foods, like canned goods, soups that are just ready to eat, of course your canned vegetables, your freeze-dried and dehydrated foods that come in number 10 cans or bags and buckets. Oils to cook with, I would stay away from seed oils all the time because they're just not healthy at all. Things like beef tallow, avocado oil, olive oil last a long time. Of course, lots of seasoning, pink salts, good mineral salts are good, and then additives because you're probably going to be deficient in some kind of nutrients just because of the nature of the whole state of the world, stressed, physical stress, and then probably not eating like you're normally used to. So having things on hand like beef, bone broth proteins or egg white proteins to add to your foods because you're going to need proteins. Water is life, folks. You got to have water, and there's kind of real two stages to the water. You have the water that you're going to just store. Storable water is really temporary, not really meant for more than 2 to 4 weeks. I would recommend a case of this kind of bottled water, whatever brand you want, but 5 cases of that per person in your household. 5 cases for each person in your household. And then I would also recommend at minimum 15 gallons of water, up to 25 or more, however much you could store, as potable water, cleaning water, hygiene, cooking, things like that, stored. But you can't store water forever, and you can't have enough because, folks, it takes a lot of water to keep us alive, and so that's why you need to have water purification abilities, things like these gravity-fed purifiers from Berkey or from Alexa Pure or others work really well. Make sure you look at what they're capable of. Having chemical processes to purify your water also works. And then you want to make sure that you have a water source. Are you collecting it by rain? Do you have a creek or pond or a swimming pool or lake or some way or a well that you're able to pump it out of even if the power goes out? Some way to get water. That needs to be in your plans, and you need to make it a very, very high priority. Medical supplies, high priority. A lot of people just tend to buy a little first aid kit, whether it's a $20 one at Walmart or a $300 or $400 one online. That's great. The problem is most of those kits are 1 to 2 times use. And once you use them, the stuff's gone. And if there's no supply chain or no system in place to replenish it, well, then you've run out. So you need to have your own medical supplies also. And don't be afraid to get things that's above your knowledge of medicine, because you can either learn, be taught, or have someone else in your group use them when needed. Just simple things like bandages at Walmart, burn pads, different types of gauze and pads, all the way up to sutures and staples and things for combat dressings, chest seals, things like that. You need to have a pretty adequate supply. And I'll tell you this from personal experience: if you ever have to deal with a major injury like a gunshot wound or a chainsaw or an axe or something where you have a lot of bleeding, cases this size and bigger of bandages, you'll go through the whole case in one time. It takes a lot, so make sure you have plenty of that. And then also don't forget your medicines, both over-the-counter, prescription, and then natural types of medicines. Natural things like Manuka honey and other supplements that can, boost your immunity, keep you healthy, and also take care of illnesses like if you have them in your horses or something. Other things just like your ibuprofens and your cold medicines and stuff that you can get over the counter. And then of course do your best to stock up on prescription medications. I understand that's difficult for a lot of people due to cost or just the doctor writing enough prescriptions, but if you talk to your doctor, sometimes you can, and there are alternative ways to do that. But make sure you work on these survival needs and start doing minimal planning at 12 to 24 months. And remember, a lot of this is really transitory. It transitions you to a point to where you're more sustainable on your own, producing your own stuff. Now we've moved from tactical and prepping onto homesteading. This is where we go from surviving to being sustainable. Now, of course, we don't represent everything that you need here. We are just trying to give you some ideas to kind of get your brain going. One of the most important things that you need to be thinking about when it comes to being sustainable is producing food. You can have a lot of food stored up, but it's only going to last for so long, and no matter how good quality it is, it's never going to have the nutrition level as whole fresh food. So you need to be working on producing your own food. Gardening and raising animals and foraging are the best ways to be sustainable, but you need to have a way to preserve that. You can't eat out of your garden in the middle of the winter time, at least most of you cannot. So you want to have things like pressure cookers, plenty of canning jars, things like to grind wheat down to flour, meat grinders, things like that to preserve your food. You want to be able to produce your own energy, your own light, whether it's through solar panels or generators, hydroelectric, or just going old-fashioned and primitive and having backup oil lanterns and backup fuel. You also want to work on cleaning stuff, personal hygiene, making your own kind of stuff. I'd mentioned earlier the water. This here is some pool bleach that you can use to turn into liquid bleach that you can also use to purify water. Liquid bleach does not have a very long shelf life, so buying something like this and learning how to convert it into liquid bleach is always going to be better. Also learning how to make your own soaps, your own detergents. You're able to put that kind of stuff back, and it's actually pretty economical to do so, and it's healthier for you. Seeds, seeds, seeds. I can't emphasize enough on how important it is to have an ample supply of seeds, and then you also want to every year save back some of the seeds out of your garden. So you need to learn how to do that. But having plenty of seeds stored away properly and in ways that they're organized and easy to get to works really well. There's some great seed companies out there. I would try to stay away from a lot of the modern hybrid stuff. Even though the production level is typically higher, the sustainability level of that plant, it's not as tolerant, it doesn't last as long. You may not get seeds that are viable from it. Sometimes they produce sterile seeds. So looking at heirloom varieties, your old varieties are much better, and finding a good company to do that. And then also tools, things to maintain stuff, things to build stuff, your tools, fasteners, screws, nuts, bolts, parts to equipment that you're using. A lot of times simple things like spark plugs and belts and batteries and things are pretty cheap and easy to stock up on. Make sure you have proper communications, radios, whether they're handheld on your property or larger radios that you can communicate with people outside of your property. And then of course just the tools to live by. Here's a good representation of a chainsaw that you can use to cut wood, right? To heat your home, which is what we do. But what happens when the fuel or the parts are not available? You need to have stuff like this, axes and old-fashioned saws. Yes, it's a lot harder, but it works, and so make sure you have it. And then of course just your normal tools, hand tools, nuts, bolts, drivers, hammers, shovels, rakes, things like that that you need. This seems pretty common knowledge for a lot of people, but you'd be surprised how many people only stock up freeze-dried foods and a bunch of bullets and think that they're going to survive. You need to be able to take care of your own with all the influx of illegals coming through, the crashing economy, and the very real potential of a kinetic World War III. the need for you to be able to take care of yourself is becoming more and more important. Again, this is not representing everything that's out there that you can do. I just hope that it's a way to get your mind going, get the gears grinding, so that you can figure out the things that you need to do for yourself. And I strongly encourage you to be actively doing that, and with some intense purpose, because time is getting short, people. We don't have years and years to prepare for this. We may not even have a whole lot of months left. So continue on your journey of getting more prepared, because again, all the things that's in the news that I talk about every day is becoming more real and more profound, and it's affecting our lives more directly every day. Folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Folks, we are living in uncertain times where chaos seems to be around every corner. With wars and rumors of wars, economic collapse, pandemics, and more, we should strive daily to become more prepared mentally, physically, and of course spiritually. Please check out My Patriot Supply for all your preparedness needs. My Patriot Supply offers ready-hour food, Alexa Pure water filters, and many other emergency and survival products. My Patriot Supply is an American-owned company, run by Americans, producing American-made food. Emergency food from My Patriot Supply has a 25-plus year shelf life. It's simple to fix and delicious to eat. With My Patriot Supply, you can sleep at ease at night, knowing that you and your family have the emergency food to last through the coming times. To find out more, click on the link in the description below or go to preparewithtravis.com.